Here we are again.
We're back. It's been a minute.
Yep.
Thanksgiving happened and life happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
My,
what's the update?
so I told Elisa jokingly that a good title for this episode would be, well, that escalated quickly, like on The Office. So last time we talked about waiting for a diagnosis
Mhm.
and psychology of that wait, talked about religion, which I thought was really obviously interesting to me, um, and all of that. And turns out I have cancer. Ta-da!
Are you going to add like a sound effect there when you
Yeah.
edit this?
What would this is the there's so many little pieces of this that are so weird, and it's like, what is the appropriate way to say that? And like, what would the sound effect be? Like,
I don't know. Dwight had that keyboard where he's just like, wah, wah. We're at the Dundies. Oh, yeah. Like,
there's like I've practiced it. I like thought about putting it on social media, and so I made some little videos, and like nothing works. Like there's no good way to be like, "Well, everyone, I've been diagnosed with cancer." Like just even saying it is
yeah.
so
What
weird.
what is it like to say that, a sentence that you never thought you would say? Like,
I think the hardest part is that in so many ways, my own brain is still trying to process and like catch up to such a like devastating, life-changing, everything is like so different now event. And like obviously in real time, I'm aware that it's happening, but parts of my brain are like definitely living before that was real. And they're like, this is probably a dream that we're going to wake up from. And so when you say it out loud to someone else, it just sort of like jars that whole delicately balanced inner psychology, because then you hear yourself saying it and then you're like, wait, is it really true then? Like it's not easy. It just spins it all back up. But sometimes I just dissociate. I mean, you just say the words.
yeah,
Yeah, that's how that's going.
yeah.
So the last time we were like, it could be bad. It might be when we didn't know, but then it was. It was like all the worst case scenarios came back.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I so our listener knows I'm not processing this in real time. I've had a month. Like
Valid.
this is not my gut reaction
I
to
did not
like
just tell you.
right. Yeah, this is not my gut reaction to like make an office joke. It's been a month of like um processing it like on this end. Um so
Yeah.
there are so many like glimmers of hope in like pieces of information that like I found myself holding on to like just as more results have come in and like more labels have come up, like I don't know, I always tell my clients you want the right diagnosis like regarding mental health so you're not trying to treat a broken bone with an antibiotic like
Yeah.
treatment that doesn't make sense. So now that you've like landed on a very specific diagnosis and you found like these experts that are even providing you like a lot of statistics and options and stuff like that, like it's a lot of glimmers of hope, or some of them are like waterfalls of hope, that I
Yeah.
found myself holding on to. But I don't know what it's like for you, like actually living in the body that you're living in
Yeah.
and mm, having this same information. Because I don't know, for me, my mind is just like, well, boom, get the positive psychology file out and like
Yeah.
let's hold on to the positive and let's reframe it and get the hope out and all that. But it's my process is definitely different than yours. Like it's not, I can't compare.
Yeah. I think it seems like as a friend, um, I don't know, all paths are valid. I think there's no right way, but yeah, it makes sense that you're processing it as a friend and you've had a month with it and you're finding hope in like some of the data. I'm certainly like, I think that the internal family systems lens has been very a good, helpful reference for me because there's really no way to describe it in a better way than like there's just very distinct and different parts of me that are processing it differently. So I also have the hopeful piece that is like crunch the numbers. The cancer I have is called multiple myeloma, so it's a type of blood cancer that is like in my plasma. So already like researching clinical trials and like what are the cutting edge treatments, very hopeful about like all of like there's some very very fast paced progress in treating this kind of cancer even though it's currently in like it's uncurable. Like people don't like people go into remission and then they like battle it over and over a long period of years, but there's like a lot of hope on the horizon. And so I have that too, and on good days that is the leading like we're going to handle this, there's like a long future. But then I definitely have a part of me that is distinctly different that just like sits in the corner, arms crossed, and is the skeptic. It's interesting because we talk about like philosophy in this podcast sometimes, and it's like it's adjacent to the skeptic in me that question religion and
Mm,
like the very realist part of me that she's just like arms crossed and she's like like eyeing the other parts of me that have their hopes up with some like condescension.
mm,
She's like, that's real precious that you guys are hopeful, but I'm over here dealing with like, but let's be real though. And she's just wants to be like upset and like worst case scenario or even just like real case scenario. So I have both of those happening. And just depending on the time of day, I could be one or the other.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And depending on my medicine. So I'm really medicated right now. Today I did they have me on steroids like right now. This is the first treatment. 4 days on and 4 days off a really high dose of steroids. And when I'm on them, I'm very optimistic and happy and like this is going to be fine. Let's just be patient, get into treatment. But now I've done a full round and the 4 days I was off them, I was like a total basket case. Like
Yeah.
crying, upset, I can't do this, it's too much, I can't wait like this, like it just is unsustainable to be in this situation, like not not good. But it's but also like that's not even really me, that's just the medicine. So,
Yeah. So this sounds so clinical, if you'll indulge a question. Um, what does your level of insight look like when you're on those like 4 off days?
yeah.
Are you able to say this is a side effect of the medication and like this isn't like a whole like school of thought or like philosophy crashing down or something like that? Like how do you find the balance when like biologically that is taking a toll on your psychology?
Good clinical question.
Is that okay?
No, yes, I'm just sitting here talking to you on that. I'm like, I should just send Elisa a payment for therapy because it's so therapeutic.
Dear
But
Tennessee Board, we are friends. I am not providing therapy in your state.
it's not therapy. I am very aware. Okay. So interestingly enough, like yesterday was my last day off of it and it was a really hard day. Also, I got kind of sick. I got like a cold
Mm,
day before yesterday and then yesterday. And I literally walked downstairs at 9 p.m. after like my fifth meltdown of the day, where like, because my husband catches all of he's the only one really that gets all of the drama from me
mm,
like melting down.
yeah.
This is like, it's not my fifth. This is like my second I'm going upstairs to cry breakdown. And then I walked down and showed him Chat GPT, like this is what it's like coming off of a high dose of steroids. And it's just exactly what I'm experiencing, like moods.
Yeah.
Um, so my level of insight at that moment was 10, but the preceding 48 hours was like 1. I was just upset. I was just upset. And I didn't have a sense of like, this is the drug, like this is a steroid thing. Cause there's also like events happening. And I thought it was the events. I thought it was that I was sick and I'm waiting to see if I get into this clinical trial. And like, I got frustrating news about, and it was just like, I just don't think I had a lot of insight in the moment. But now I'm thinking I've got to be more intentional about writing some sort of sticky note on a mirror or something and just be like, this is not a real feeling.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm kind of thinking of like some couples counseling techniques of like helping someone to be aware of like, all right, what your partner is expressing right now are sometimes like textbook symptoms of their diagnosis, you know?
Yes.
And even though it feels like a personal attack, or even though it's evoking a lot of defensiveness or something like that, how can you differentiate between that and what is like likely symptoms that are kind of like harming you? You know, like that tool or whatever intervention, it doesn't resolve any of the conflict, or like it doesn't fix someone's relationship or something like that, but it can create some space between like the insult that's coming up, or the insult that I'm being like hit with, and a person's like, you know, struggle, or like just like their picture of things. And so like I'm thinking about you in your inside world, like there's a tug of war going on, or there's some sort of like debate that's going on and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, sometimes it's symptoms of experiences, or like symptoms that
Yeah.
are creating like that rain cloud over the conversation or something like that. But nevertheless, it's hard, like, because you are navigating like real life frustrations and stuff in real time, but you're like, the medication may not be giving me the normal capacity that I could handle it, like if it were just another day, or like,
Yes.
you know, if this were tomorrow when I start these doses, I could handle this so well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Because now all of that storm, like that's a good weather analogy. Like,
Mm.
I don't know, because we work with emotions in therapy. Like, it's a part of this job is to talk through honor emotions, but also are your emotions sabotaging you? Like, how much is enough to feel them versus like, can we think of it like a storm that will pass and not let it ransack your relationship, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's a valid thing is like I'm processing a cancer diagnosis. Obviously, there's going to be huge emotions involved. And also, I have this drug in my system that is really like 4 days on, 4 days off, like exacerbating
Exacerbating.
that feeling. So it kind of helps to like pick it apart and be like, okay, your feelings are valid, and also some of these feelings are like chemical, like
Mhm.
literally just chemical feelings, and you may not need to lean into them. You might just need to wait them out.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Hmm.
Colin was like, you should go for a drive. Do you want to look at Christmas lights? Like he was trying to help me fix it last night, and I was like, there's no fixing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then meanwhile, there's Elisa sending you memes, and
I know. I didn't even reply to you. Could you
you don't have
tell?
to reply. I mean,
Oh, I
so
was just
I
so
told
upset
you,
last night.
huh?
I was just so upset last night.
You don't, I mean, you don't have to reply, like, or if, you know, the way someone expressing support, like, isn't landing, like, I think it's okay to express that too. Like,
Oh,
um, I told you a few weeks ago, like, I think based upon the circumstances, you get a free pass all around, you know, like, to have bad days, or you know, to have certain emotions and certain reactions and stuff like that, like I kind of pour that out over our friendship of like, you know, yeah, you don't have to respond, like life right now is a free pass. But on the on your inside world too, like I don't know, maybe this is me being invasive, but I'm like, I wish I could pour out some of that grace or compassion on that inner world too of like, you know, we're on pause right now. So
No, it's really cool just to talk about it. Okay, do you know what was really the catalyst for it all last night, which is so funny?
what?
It's it's that okay, it's the dead of winter. Okay. So
Mhm.
like darkness lands at 5. Like it's really not ideal because it feels like the daylight in the weather is like matching. It's just it's just making all of this more heightened because it's dark so early. We're
Mhm.
not doing anything. But so like we eat dinner at like 5 and then our general coping is just like watch TV because it's restful. I don't feel good, so I'm laying down anyway. But like there's only so much TV you can watch from 5:30 until 9:30.
Yeah.
And I know everyone else is making jokes about it right now too because it's winter and people are like, "Oh, it's like 1 a.m. and it's actually 5:45." Like we
Yeah.
all feel like that. But um I'm in a situation like I just want to like wake up and fast forward this part of this story. And so 6 o'clock and you're like gonna watch another round of a television show. I don't know. I need some sort of adaptive strategy because that was it's not working for me to sit and watch 4 hours of television.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know. What else, what am I supposed to do instead?
Yeah. Um, I think that's a good question. I'm
There's
like,
so many.
oh, do you have any jigsaw puzzles?
I know. Maybe I did. I did find a puzzle box today. I know. I want to be proactive. Let's not do that all every night. I need to figure out a solution to this problem.
Yeah. You know how people put like date night ideas on popsicle sticks and crap like that?
Yes.
Like, I don't know, maybe indulging some of Colin's ideas of like looking at Christmas lights or something. And
Yeah.
like right now it sucks because your calendar has been just like wiped out. Like you used to have a million things on your calendar and a lot of that has gotten taken off. So, like, I don't know. My thought is, I don't know how you'd feel about like taking into account the doses and putting some non-negotiable things on your calendar, like that
Yeah.
are still low energy, but something to break up that evening because like the evening sucks right now. Like it's really
Right?
long.
It does
Hmm.
suck for everyone.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna workshop this after last night. I gotta figure out something to do at like
Yeah.
6, 7, and 8 that's not
Hmm.
the 4th hour of television. That is not
Yeah.
working for me.
Yeah. Or even from like 6:30 to 7:30, that would like break it up. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, I did eventually come down and like help the kids with homework and we sat at the table. Like we did shake it up eventually. It was just like it was probably like a dark 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the in the moment tips and tricks if you've been diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
Make a plan.
Elisa's prescription is to do a puzzle.
No,
Oh.
legit, like, it has to be restful, but maybe it's, like, funny because I think a lot of people's default is television or scrolling social media, and it is helpful, but it's like, it's not getting a dopamine hit for me anymore the way that it used to, and I need to change it up.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or, like, at least find a better show to watch.
What have you been watching?
Vanderpump Rules.
Okay. I don't know anything about that.
Terrible, terrible trash TV. They're just, like, screaming they're like, "I'm making some bad choice" like, as I'm telling it to you, I'm like, "I'm making some poor choices." And lo we've been rewatching Lost,
Okay.
and, like, there's a main character who I know is about to die
Mm.
tragically, and I'm like, "I don't wanna watch the next episode, it's too upsetting."
Yeah.
Like, and Elisa's your best advice to me is always, like, change up your algorithm,
Do you
but
remember when I hacked it? I
yeah.
hacked your algorithm.
I think that my evening algorithm needs a big overhaul now that I'm saying it out loud. So stay tuned. We'll work it
Well,
out.
for our listener, your algorithm, so you started sending all these stories on Instagram and they were some like dark, like trauma, like I'm just like, dang, Jennifer, how do you expose yourself to that all day when you're working? And then at home, it's like, you know, ugh. And so I remember I sent you baby animals,
Yeah.
like, or like people that knit little hats for hamsters and then they're eating like pieces of corn and stuff. Like, I'm like, what TV show is the equivalent of the baby animal videos?
I just reloaded America's baking, or no, America's British baking.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Okay.
like pretty close to cute squirrels.
Yeah, it is.
Baking.
Just like
Very
the music.
positive.
Yeah. I always imagine if I were on that show, like everything would be a fail basically. And sometimes they have like really quirky music, like dum 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 dum, dum, like oh, coming back to Elisa, and I'm like, they're like the music is just conveying this is not working out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's some lighter television for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just like, it's all a free pass. Like,
Thank
but
you.
yeah, but you
Very
could,
generous.
yeah, really, you could be setting yourself up for some success or like just like breaking it up a little bit. But it sucks because, especially since like your medication is so calculated, the wave that's coming on which day, like that would be really hard.
Yeah, and it's also the
Mhm.
first time I've done like I started it a week ago. So
Mhm.
this is the first time I did 4 days on, 4 days off. So
Okay.
I'm learning as I go. Certainly the next time I go off, like in 4 more days, I'll have a better plan.
Okay. Yeah.
See. And also it's temporary. Like this isn't the medication I'm going to be on perpetually. We just need to get me to the next treatment,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
it'll be a different round of side effects, but
Yeah. Hmm.
hopefully less emotional.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
see.
you can ride that wave for sure.
Thanks for the pass.
Yeah.
Don't you I think like don't people like become like super wise? Like there's those people that get cancer and then they're going to die and then they like have all these profound things to say.
Maybe for some people that they come out. I also know some cancer survivors that are jerks.
True. That's so valid.
So I think just like knowing you and your inclinations, though, you are likely to come out of this changed in the best way. So
Oh my god. We'll
the
see.
chrysalis.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Not gonna over spiritualize it.
Well,
Unless
what do
I
you,
can profit. I would just love to like have a reason. Like I want to write this book and I'm like, if this gets me a book, that'll be great.
yeah. Yeah.
That'll make me happy.
I told you if a ghostwriter thing is necessary, I'll I'll do what I can with that.
Well, I think the story arc is good. Like my
Yeah.
book was going to be about leaving evangelicalism and then like finding my own like way and
Yeah.
but then like getting cancer and having to navigate something so serious with that newly developed sense of spirituality and
Yeah.
self-orientation in the world. It's kind of like the ultimate test of that whole journey to me.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
definitely a good part 3 of that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So this reminds me, I don't know if this is like an abrupt change of topic, but when I was at this youth conference, I was probably in like 6th grade. Okay. You know how emotionally charged those are planned out to be, right? So they had this speaker come in that was talking about like they led this life of like drugs and on the streets. But then I found Christianity and my life just like did a 180, complete turnaround. Now I don't know. It was just like a million things that they're successful in now. And like, and you can do that too. God transforms people, like amazing grace. I once was lost, but now I'm found. And since I grew up in the church, me listening to that at 6th grade was like, oh, I don't have a testimony. Like, I don't have this like terrible past and like a 6th grader being like,
Yeah.
I don't have the street cred or whatever. Like, and I'm just like, I want to hit rock bottom. I want to have like some sort of testimony so that like I can see the miracle of all this turnaround or something like that. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's reminiscent in a way uh to be like, okay, like here's some material and like what do you do with it? You know?
Yeah.
This is not going the way that I was thinking.
No, okay, hold on. It sounds like you're saying, are you drawing a parallel between the old feelings of like, there is so much credit given to people with a big story.
Okay, yeah.
Something significant happens in your life, and in the church, it's like now you get to come on stage and talk about it because it's interesting to all of us, and
Yeah.
it's a boring vanilla story of like Elisa just who was like growing up being a normal person,
Yeah.
not on drugs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I feel like as I'm like saying that and you're summarizing it, like I don't want to discredit or invalidate like the importance of your story. You know, I think what I'm trying to communicate is that even if this didn't happen and your story was what it was that whole time, it would
Yeah.
still be super valuable and important to share with
Yeah.
people. You
No,
know?
I agree.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it's just true that listen, I would like to have the vanilla story. Now I've seen the alternative. This is not a chosen path, but I mean, getting a rare cancer at 42 like this is not average. So therefore, the silver lining is, I guess what I'm saying is like it would make for an interesting story.
yeah.
Uh, Not because I like want to be the center of attention, but like it already has become an interesting story because then
Mm,
people are interested. People want to. I am the recipient of that kind of story where I'm like, oh wow, look what that person's going through. I'm curious about how they're dealing with that, and also it's like so upsetting. It's like so. It just sort of gets your attention.
yeah. Well, and a lot of the people that are in similar situations and stuff like that, like looking for other people that are going through the same thing or, you know, how you handled that. Or
Yeah,
like, you know, people that maybe they were very like still walking in their faith and then their diagnosis created a faith crisis and stuff like that. Like, what do you do with that now? Like for you, that ebb and flow is different, like in the timeline of events and stuff like that. But um, yeah, I think the curveball, yeah, it makes the story that was already so valuable kind of like next level of where you're like, okay, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. You know, like you said in
yeah,
the last one, you're like, I feel
yeah.
so strongly about
I
this.
do.
Yeah, yeah,
That has not changed throughout this process.
yeah. Hmm.
I've still been thinking about like a little bit, like I don't hyper focus. I find myself slightly less concerned with religious stuff right now and like the spirituality pieces that used to just captivate all my algorithms.
Hmm.
Because I'm like, "Ugh, whatever, who cares? I just want to be alive to like watch the sunsets and watch my kids grow up, and religion is religion. Like people are gonna do it.
But
It's
yeah,
whatever. It's not as front and center. But it still remains like such an important part of my story and brings me satisfaction and personal um some sort of personal like what's the right word? A sense of meaning to stand up still against the theology that resonates in my head that would say you should be praying, you should be begging God right now for your life. And to just be like, no, no, what a terrible job.
mm,
Would it be great to like hope and have the universe like wish that like I have a good outcome or I can be a miracle or I have like the best possible case scenario? Yeah, like of course I'm going to use that, but I'm not begging God for that on my knees groveling because a religion told me if I repented hard enough and prayed hard enough I would. Like the theology of that just really irks me so much still. It's
mm.
so ugh, it's gross.
Yeah, it's like formulaic.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I don't have anyone to argue with, but I would love to. I don't know
But
what
you
to
want someone to come up to you and be like, "Can I ask you $1 million question? Do you consider yourself to be a good person?" Did you know that was my script for evangelism?
No, that was
Oh
your
my
question?
gosh. That's a whole nother episode. I'm gonna put a pin in that. you you want someone to fight with.
Wait, give me your pitch.
Oh my gosh. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Don't have to.
No, I will. So you basically, this was like door to door evangelism. It was street evangelism, walking up to random people in parks, stuff like that. People grocery shopping. Like we were unmatched. Anyways, all in the name of being bold. So you say, can I, well, first of all, the details emerge. We had tracts, okay, gospel tracts that we hand out. Some of them looked like a $1 million bill. Okay, so it
Nice.
looked like you were giving someone money. Okay, and you basically like on the back there was like this whole gospel message. But you go up to a person, you're like, "Can I ask you a $1 million question?" And they're like, "Sure." And this is a whole script, by the way. And it's like, "Do you consider yourself to be a good person?" And most people are like, "Yeah, I'd say so." And they're like, "Well, let's put that to the test. Have you ever lied, even if it was just like about something little or just like a little white lie?" And people are kind of like, "Yeah, I have," like whatever. You're like, "Have you ever stolen something, even if it was just like a piece of candy from the store when you were little? Like, have you ever stolen?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so you go through like basically the 10 commandments. You're like, "Have you ever done this even a little bit?" And then you're like, "Not so much a good person, are you?" However, there's a way to, you know,
Yep.
reconcile with God. It was a terrible script. Like, I look back on that and I'm like, that was really embarrassing that I was like going up to random people in parks. And then my husband and I used to do this when we were dating. This was
Yeah.
our night out. We would go up to people, say this. And this man at a park was speed walking, trying so hard to get away from us. And he was walking like those Olympic walkers
Yeah.
that are like, he
Yeah.
was walking so fast. We were jogging next to him, trying to be like, "Well, have you ever like wanted something that someone else owned? That's coveting." And like we were just like jogging next to this person, and then we got tired of jogging, and we were just like, "Well, think about it." Like that was how the conversation ended because he was trying so hard to get away from us. But
But think about the hook in that gospel presentation. Is
it's
it
terrible.
like but you're trying to get them to admit that they have had like one white lie, like one teeny thing that they've done wrong. And then you're like, well, now that we've established that,
You're trying.
you need
You're
this
trying to.
religion.
Yes, you're trying to instill guilt and
Exactly.
regret. Like you're trying to make someone who had good self-esteem when this conversation started feel
Yeah,
so bad about themselves
that's
that
how it
they
works.
buy yes, that they buy into this message that like, hey, it's like God only wants people with clean white t-shirts in his presence. So if you got a stain of ketchup on there, you're no longer qualified or whatever. But we have the bleach that can get that stain off.
I know,
Like
but the logic is just so shady.
it's terrible.
It's
It's so embarrassing.
like thinking of it now with all this time, because I did the same tracks and the same pitches to people in high school, like in college and after. But like, it doesn't even make much sense that
Mm.
you're saying, oh, now that you've admitted guilt for one item of your life, one tiny thing, you definitely need to convert to my religion, be washed in the blood of Jesus, give your entire life, heart, mind, body, and soul over to this religion in order to like make up for that. Like it's just so disproportional.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Just so you know, I did not have $1 million track. We had a track that opened up into the shape of a cross.
Oh, those are the elite ones. I've seen those.
Silly.
Oh my gosh, we had. Well, my neighbors were passing them out for Halloween, the $1 million ones.
This
Um,
year?
Yes, this year.
Oh my gosh.
And I forget, instead of like a president's face, I forget if it was like John Wesley's face or it was like a some sort of church history character. I'll have to send it to you, but it was like I saw it and I was like, "Can I have one of those?" Because I was like, "No one believes me when I say I'm handing these out." Um, but anyway,
Well,
how did
people,
we get on this topic of
well,
my
I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
just feel like more chill about it in this moment in the sense that like yeah, that's what people do. They make up religions and then they believe that they have the one true like it just feels less daunting than it did a while ago and more like I don't know, radical acceptance. I'm not saying I want it to be this way that people cuz religion can cause so much harm too, but
Mhm.
like that's just what people do. They just make these things up and
Yeah.
around.
Mhm. Yeah, but oh, I think that came to mind because you were saying, oh my gosh, I just led you on this like whole random tangent when you're talking about something so personal. Sorry about that.
Oh no, that was a good tangent.
Mm, yeah,
We
embarrassing.
were talking about how I still feel so strongly in the wake of all of this
Mhm,
diagnosis that like the theology I was taught is abusive and especially to this is a reiteration from the last time, especially to someone going through what I'm going through.
mhm,
Like the fact that it's in my head that people would say or believe or think or teach someone with cancer deserves it. That's God punishing them. That's their
mhm.
rebellion. Like it's like there's like the suffering of what's happening in my body physically, but like that's man-made suffering. And for
Mm,
someone to choose to be that cruel and to not stop themselves in their tracks and be like, "Really? Like, is that really what I'm gonna believe and say and repeat? Is that really like loving?" Ugh,
yeah,
it's pretty yucky. But like I was that person, you know,
yeah,
20-year-old us saying dogs don't go to heaven. Like you were
yeah.
a person too, so I can't even be that mad.
We were dogmatic, no pun intended. I'm juxtaposing that whole thing of like saying all that insensitive stuff and like, you know, my religion is teaching me that I have to be on my knees repenting to save myself from this and or like for God to intervene or something like that. Juxtaposing that with like this very natural flow of hope and a wish that there's thousands of more sunsets to come, like
Yeah.
it feels like such a contrast that it's like all of this like, you know, repentance and making you feel bad for stuff and well had you done this and that like the formulaic stuff like had it all been like calculated and correct then maybe you would have had a better outcome versus this like very natural organic way of coping or way of like incorporating some sort of visualization or spirituality to be like just like graceful and flowing with yourself like
Yeah.
yeah it's it's such a big contrast and so like giving yourself the freedom to do that and be like I'm not gonna like go through the steps of this formula for something that's harmful and instead I'm just going to like let myself flow give myself free passes when I need that and
Yeah.
you know let yourself
Okay, here's my question to you,
okay
hypothetically. So, knowing that people are, though, going to do that, whatever, cling on to those more primitive or harsh belief systems for whatever reason, and then knowing that you have a choice to be in a more free flowing, like accepting, loving, watch the sunset space. How much of your time then do you choose to kind of speak back into the old culture and be like, "Hey, there's a better way." And how much of your time do you choose to be like, "There that's where they are." Oh, what's your theme? It was like something about a fuck. Don't give a fuck. Like,
the book that I read
what was the book called?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck
Yeah.
by what's that guy's name? Mark something.
So like, I guess my question to myself and then but I'm curious your response.
Mhm.
I always think about this is like, how much of my energy do I want to apply backward to the old communities and ways of life I left and try to like move people along and be like, hey, there might be some better options here. And how much of it do you just kind of are like, listen, that's where you're at. I'm moving on. I'm going to do it differently. I'm
Mhm.
going to I'm going to leave.
This is the age-old question that you and I have been wrestling with for years. Like, how do I know that my passion is not just like substituting the evangelical message?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, because something like this of like, this is how you cope with cancer in a better way. It's like, are you just presenting a new formula to people to like replace a formula with, or like, hey, I need to like present you with the actual truth or like the actual correct way or something like that. Like
Yes.
it just it goes it's the
It's
same question we've been asking ourselves this whole time. Like,
so cringy.
yeah, like me advocating, hey, maybe be more chill about this. Is that message in itself me like, being dogmatic about like, oh, I got another convert to step away from their community, or I don't know, like the harm. I wouldn't get people to step away from their community just because, but like, did I get another person to see the light, basically?
Yeah.
Um, so like, I don't know. I just feel like it's the same question. Like, how much time do you spend on that? But at the same time, oh, this is gonna be like a really evangelical metaphor.
Okay.
But
Go
it's
for
like
it.
Bible verse. Like, they'll know we are Christians by our love.
Yeah.
That implication is just to be, it's just to be, it's not to approach people or shove stuff or be like forceful or anything like that. It's just kind of like, an open door, or like, this is what I have like laid out on my table. Do you want to know about it or something?
Yeah.
Or not even asking that, like someone being like, hey, how did you cope? And like, this is my stuff. Or like, yeah, you publish a book. People can read the back of it and decide if they want to read it or not, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to stifle you from putting your stuff out there, or like, ugh,
Yeah.
the dialectic.
I don't think that there's okay, I'm answering for myself only subjectively.
Hmm.
I'm not even sure that this is like a um paradox of a paradox. I don't even think that there's an answer objectively to whether or not you should invest your energy talking back into the old space or picking a fight or moving on. Like
Hmm.
there's no if you're going to be in a flexible
Philosophy.
philosophy base, like that's kind of an open idea. So it's like there's no one can answer that question for you but you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Are you having an iteration of evangelicalism by thinking that now you figured it out and you need to tell people the right way because sorry, I was wrong then, but I'm definitely right now. No, that's like it's so like immature, I think, to assume or presume that you were wrong on this one level and you figured it out and you're not going to figure out that you were wrong again. Like that we're just going to continue evolving, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Do you write the book because I think ultimately it's like not because someone else told you to or because you think it matters to anything. It's like, does it make you happy?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. What makes you happy? Moving on or staying in does it make you happy to have one last word with evangelicalism? Yeah, it kind of does make me happy.
That'll be like a legacy, like that ISBN will be there for 1,000 years.
I did not choose to have multiple myeloma, and I also did not choose to be born and raised in evangelicalism in the 1990s, and both have had a profound impact on my life and will shape who I am.
Yeah. I think that's a really important story. You know, i- Whether the second part existed or not, I think what you have to share is so valuable. And like, I don't know, that's why I'm glad that we record our stuff, because it matters either way. Or like,
Yeah,
if you spend a lot of time on something, or if you don't spend a lot of time on something, like, it doesn't mean that it matters more or less. Like, it's still completely valid. And like, I think every life is a life.
And it's totally subjective. We could be talking about mountain
Yeah,
biking gear.
people do that.
Yeah,
People listen to it more than this.
I know. It'd probably be more interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, we need hobbies. We need
Yeah.
more hobbies. That I have
We
to find a hobby.
have you tried jigsaw puzzles?
I can't believe you keep saying that because one of my coping skills has been organizing my house. Like that's like, what am I gonna do if it's low impact? I can like shuffle through papers. Actually, I have like a whole. That's like my whole
Okay. Workstation.
work. That's what I've been organizing. I have like a billion therapy papers. Is that relatable? Like a billion notes on trainings. And then I hate
There's
throwing them away. Yeah, I'm like, wait, I took notes on that training. I should keep it. But I'm like, why? It's like keeping an old sermon. I'm never going to reference that ever again. It's just a
yeah.
piece of paper. Throw it away. But anyway, literally, I was cleaning a bookshelf up today, and there's this like Harry Potter puzzle that was very difficult that I tried to do two Christmases ago. And I held it in my hand this morning, and I was like, it might be time.
That's so weird. And
I feel like it's a sign.
I keep bringing it up because it's like sometimes you talk to a therapist and they're like, have you thought of not being sad? Like some therapists, or like I'm probably guilty of this because I'm not perfect by any means. Like it's just like throwing out these like stupid ideas, or like someone that's like really, really struggling with their housing. And the therapist is like, have you thought of getting a massage for self care? And it's just like tone deaf, like that's why I keep bringing it up because you're like, I'm going through a major life, like health crisis. And I'm like, get a jigsaw puzzle out. Don't forget to set it on a special table. Like,
No, but there's something too, like you think you're saying something so obvious that's insensitive, but there is something to being in a place that like I'm at where like and people get in this place where they're really stuck or they're really overwhelmed. And like your like regular coping like, hey, let's do something. Skills are not firing. And so
yeah,
like I probably do need to do a puzzle. It's very practical.
yeah,
I would think that probably watching, like, now that we've discussed it at length in the beginning, like, probably watching 4 hours of reality TV in the darkness of night is
yeah.
not helping me feel better.
Okay.
Let's just hypothesize that that's potentially not helping.
Well, yeah,
So what if we did 1 hour of a show, 1 hour of jigsaw puzzle, and then an hour, like, even just a little?
yeah. That's how it is. Like just a little bit.
We just need the nighttime hours to pass.
Yeah, yeah.
Without me thinking literally, I just wanna go to bed and not wake up. And not
Mm,
that I'm suicidal, but, like, I just need to pass what I meant is I need to pass this time better
yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I
than
I think the general public feels that, but like on a level two, whereas you have like extra material that's weighing you down to where you're feeling that at like a 10.
yeah, because I need to pass the time till I can get cancer treatment.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a little extra.
I hate the waiting. Like it's
Ugh,
this process has been so hard, like because of the waiting. And like again, I'm at a 2 with the distress of it. Well, I'm not saying I'm at a 2. I'm at like a 7, with like
valid.
living this with a friend, but you're at like a 20. And so like just waiting has been excruciating. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you
When
know
they
how
say
long it's been?
a month, yeah.
Yeah, only.
It's been a month, like an actual month since you called me when I was like at the gas station.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because tomorrow is 5 weeks since I had that first hematologist appointment when she was like, "You're fine. You just need
Yeah.
iron."
Yeah. It was like literally November 11th that you called me because I was about to get on a flight, you know?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then, yeah. And it is now December 11th. So,
you've literally been there from day 0.
well, I'll be there on day 1000 also.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to redo that trip. That is
Well, I'm
stuff.
like, that's only about 3 years. I'll be there on day like million,
Don't
hundred.
manifest a short prognosis for me.
I
Yeah.
didn't mean that.
No, it's fine.
No,
Yeah.
1,000 sounds like a lot, but I was like, divide that by 365. No, we're talking about like in the 100 millions. So
We're gonna all live forever anyway.
yeah, yeah,
It's all relative.
yeah. In my theological school of thought, yes, we will.
You really no, hold on. Back up. You're not just in this with me from the day I called you and you were at the gas station. You're in this with me from day one of this podcast where we thought it would be so funny to talk about death.
Oh my
I feel
gosh.
like we created this scenario.
Who does that? Like, who actually does that? And we've made these jokes where we're like, oh, let's begin with the end. Ha ha ha.
Hilarious. We're all inching towards death. And then the second podcast, I was like, yeah, I cried about death in the forest today because I'm just not ready to die. It's so cringy now. Oh my
Oh, that's how life unfolds, but we're in it together. That's all I
God.
can say.
Okay, well, I don't know where we'll go from here. I don't want to talk about cancer every podcast, but it's certainly like sucking up all oxygen, literally all the oxygen in all the rooms. But let's do
Well,
this in another week and we'll see what we can
okay.
do.
We'll be here for our listener.
Cannot wait to share this with our listener.
Yes.
We love you, listener.
Bye.
Bye.